Good afternoon to everyone and welcome to this virtual session for inorganic chemistry 3 course. So dear students, we have been doing certain aspect of the inorganic chemistry which includes certain polymeric substance. So we have seen that how these polymeric substance used to exhibit properties which can be explored for the vital functioning of a certain applications, and you can have the wide range of application which can be only possible by the inorganic polymer. Similarly, we have gone through certain aspect of acid and base. So we have how we can have different concepts which can describe the molecule as acid and base. You have Lewis concept, Arrhenius concept, Bronze-Lowry concept, you have flux flood concept, Kusanovich concept. So these concepts have certain applications, certain advantages, certain limitations. Okay, so we have gone through those aspects. We have covered that how you can have in some cases the acid base character is not defined just in terms of one concept. You have to look into some other aspect also, only then you can define the species as acid and base. Okay, in molten state. So there are different ways of classifying these species as acid and base. Similarly, we have just started the new unit, that is the metallurgical aspect. Sorry, how you can have the uh, process by which you can obtain the different types of the metals. And the source of metal, we have two important sources. One is earth crust, another is your sea. So how you can have the uh, extraction of these metals from the earth crust or from the sea. Okay, so we are just doing the metallurgical aspect. So this is a domain which include the material science and engineering. Okay, so this is basically a engineering chemistry where one has to put the basics of chemistry which can be further in the applied form. Okay, so you have the engineering chemistry where you explore the metallurgical aspect of the technology, and you can apply the process by which you can obtain these metals for your uses. Okay, because you know that we require metals for wide range of applications, starting from the conductors, machinery. So all of these metals are at one point or other point have its own importance. Okay, depending upon the type of the metal consumed in the industry as well as at the domestic level. Okay, so as the civilization develop, okay, so you have the increase amount of the application of these metal based items. Okay, which used to be applied in certain industrial sector, certain other sectors which includes the hardware sector especially, which includes all types of the materials which supposed to be utilized at various places. Okay, so what we are doing, we are just doing what is metallurgy. So I'm just recapitulating the things which we have done and giving you the new dimensions, that why we have the metals which used to have us in two forms. Either they used to exist as such in a free state form, or they used to exist in a combined state form. Okay, so that depends upon the important aspect of the activity, and that activity is reflected in terms of the certain aspect. Okay, so today we are going to discuss that one. Okay, so basically when we look into the metallurgical aspect, so metallurgical aspect basically involves these basic steps. But before that, you should aware that why we have the certain metals be supposed to be present in native state, in a free state, or some of these metals used to occur in the nature or in the earth crust as a combined form, okay, either oxide, either as a sulfide, either as a carbonate, okay. So when we look into the general principle of the metallurgy, okay, the chief mode of occurrence of metal based on their standard electrode potential, okay. So this standard at electrode potential define the reactivity of the or activity of the metal, okay. So this is important, okay. So metals are, is very useful to us, and earth crust is one of the major source of metals, as we have discussing this aspect in last lecture also. Besides earth crust, you have the sea water is a good source where metal are present mostly as a metal salt, remain in the dissolved form. Okay, so naturally you have the sea, so sea will accumulate these metals as a salt in the dissolved form. So you know that aluminum is the one of the most abundant element on the earth crust. Okay, so your earth crust is mostly having the component, and that component is aluminum. Metal is most abundant metal present in the earth crust. And second metal you have the iron. Okay, I'm talking about the metal, not about the element. Okay, so don't confuse here. Element may be non-metal, but we are talking about the metals. So this is what we have been doing. Just I'm just moving to the real aspect here. Okay, this one. So when you look into the earth crust, okay, so you will find metal in two forms. Okay, native state or free state means metal will not combine with any of the reactive species, but it will remain as such. It is the least reactive metals. That metal state is known as native or free state. You have gold, platinum, okay. So these metals are known to be a noble metals. Okay, noble metals means they are showing least reactivity, and they have tendency that they can occur in the nature in a native state or free state. But there are certain metals, okay, which will not prefer to exist in a native state or free state, but they will prefer to exist as a combined state. Okay, means they will prefer to remain in binded form. Okay, so these metals which used to have this combined state are the reactive metals, just like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. Okay, so these are the some of the situation where you can have the this type of the situation. So the combined form may be the oxide form, it may be chloride, it may be carbonate, it may be sulfide. So these are the most prominent forms of the combined state for particular metals. So it depends upon the type of the metal in which it prefer to have its existence in the earth crust. Okay, so there are certain metal which you used to find in both the forms. You can have metal in combined form and the free state form. Okay, so you can have that situation. So now I'm just talking about the reactivity of the metals. Okay, so reactivity of the metals can be understood by knowing its standard reduction potential of the metals. Okay, we have a series, this is a series which indicates that certain metals are just like lithium, potassium, okay, calcium. So they have certain value of the standard reduction potential. Okay, so this is a series where you obtain by having a standard electrode connected with these metals, and we use to calculate the respective reduction potential at standard conditions. Okay, so we have a sequence, okay, where we have arranged these standard reduction potential of metal in a particular fashion. Okay, so you can see in this table you have the values which at the top of the table is negative, and as you move down the table, So this negative aspect decreases, then you have 0 for the hydrogen, then further it becomes positive. Okay, so this is the arrangement of metals on the basis of the standard reduction potential. Okay, so this is reflected in order to give a sense that standard reduction potential of the metal has to do many things with the reactivity of that particular metal. Okay, those metals which exist on the top of the table, these metals are reactive and active. Okay, so they used to exist in the combined state. Okay, because they have tendency to form the compounds, and they will not have its stability when they come in contact with some other compound or element. Okay, so they used to exist in the combined state either as oxide, sulfide, carbonate, chloride. Okay, it depends upon the type of the metal we are talking about. Okay, whereas the metal which lie at the bottom of the table, you can see you have the gold, silver, platinum, palladium. Okay, all these metals are least reactive. Okay, so they will prefer to exist in a native state or free state. Native state or free state. Okay, so table reflect what clearly this table indicates. It clearly indicates that the as you move down the table in the table, okay, the standard electrode potential get increased. Okay, it is now negative. Now this negative value is decreasing, it is moving towards the positive side. Okay, it means its value is increasing, which indicates the tendency of being reduced. Okay, and get this tendency means as you move down, its tendency is to increase the behavior of reductance. Okay, thus below the position of the metal in the reactivity C, greater is the probability of the metal to exist in a free state. Okay, as you move down the group in this table, as you approaches towards the bottom side of this table, the tendency of the metal to exist in a native state and free state increases. But if you move above the table from bottom to the top, then there is a decrease in the tendency of the metal to exist in a free state. Okay, so this reduces the tendency to exist in the free state, but if you move down it will increase the tendency to exist in the free state. Okay, so that is why the standard reduction potential is important. Okay, if you have a negative standard reduction potential means your element will present in the combined state in earth crust. Okay, so this give aspect that why we have the combined mm, compounds or form of combined form of the elements. Okay, so this is explained on the basis of the standard reduction potential of the matter. Okay, so as you move down this become positive, and the tendency of the metal is that they prefer to retain in the free state or native state. Okay, so down the group the probability of the metal to be exist in a free state increases. Okay, so that is why the standard reduction potential of the metal is very very important. Its value indicates whether it will exist in a combined state or in the native state. Okay, so one second, there was some sort of a okay, so there is a one important diagram which is given in your syllabus, Eligum diagram. So this is a diagram which will reflect certain aspect of the metallurgical process. Okay, so basically it is possible to plot a free energy, which is one of the component you have studied in thermodynamics. Okay, So basically, this diagram used to give a plot. This diagram is basically a plot of the free energy formation of metal oxide versus temperature to predict the temperature at which metal is stable and temperature at which it will be spontaneously oxidized. We are talking about the metal extraction. So metal used to exist in the metal oxide. Okay, so what is the condition where this metal prefer to attain this form, or what is the condition where this metal oxide will be unstable and revert back to the metallic state? Okay, so this diagram try to elucidate the free energy for the formation of metal oxide with respect to the temperature. Okay, at what temperature you can have the situation where in the presence of suitable reducing agent you can get the metal, you can uh, reduce the metal. Okay, and itself the reducing agent is undergoing oxidation. Okay, so basically this is a plot which gives an idea about the reduction of metal oxide using a suitable reducing agent. You have seen that in a metallurgical process, when when you apply the roasting and calcination process, you get the metal in the oxide form. Okay, so that has to be reduced. Okay, so as to obtain the crude metal. Okay, so this reduction of the species involves certain reducing agent, means you require reducing agent for this purpose. So what reducing agent will be suitable for this purpose, that can be predicted by this diagram. Okay, so this diagram is for the reduction of the metal oxide using suitable reducing agent, just like carbon or carbon monoxide as a reducing agent. So basic principle in the metallurgy, when you obtain the metal oxide, so that metal oxide has to be converted into metal. Okay, which further undergo this process. So you can have the metal oxide and you have the suitable reducing agent. Okay, which may be just like in metallurgical process, mostly you have the carbon and carbon monoxide to convert this metal oxide into metal. Okay, so why this is happening? This is happening because this is a more stable under particular condition, and this is not stable at particular condition. So this can be predicted by this Elegum diagram. What is this? So we will just explain this one here. So this diagram tells us which one will be perfect idea for reducing agent to reduce a particular metal oxide to the metal. Okay, so you know that some of the metal oxide get reduced easily. Okay, some of the metal oxide just like this, you can reduce them easily, but there are some metal oxide which is difficult to reduce. Okay, so this can be done by varying the temperature of the system. Okay, you can heat the system. So that type of the metallurgy we are just discussed in the previous lecture, that is known as a pyrometallurgical process. Okay, means we are studying the variation in temperature using the thermal reduction process. Okay, here what we are doing, we are just increasing the temperature and we are just measuring how much of the reduction is taking place. So this is related to the pyrometallurgical process. So what is the role of the heat here? This can be explained by taking account of this diagram. As I have explained you that we are talking about the Gibbs free energy, which is nothing but delta G change in free energy is equal to delta H minus T into delta S, that is entropy. Okay, so the energy associated with the chemical reaction that take place. Okay, the energy associated with the chemical reaction that can be used to do this work. So you know that we have different conditions. When delta G is equal to 0, when delta G is equal to positive. Okay, but we are having the process where the process should be spontaneous. For that, delta G should be negative. Okay, this factor should be negative. Okay, so as to explain the suitability of the process to exhibit the spontaneity in the reduction process. Okay, so that your metal oxide with the use of suitable reducing agent get converted into metal. Okay, so you will try to get the idea what I want to say in the next slide. So just focus on this one. For the spontaneous process, delta G is negative. This is possible when Pg into delta S is greater than change in enthalpy for a reaction. Okay, then you can have the situation where the process will be spontaneous as per the thermodynamic consideration which you have been studying since your plus 2 level. Okay, so this diagram will tell us which of the reducing agent at which temperature will be more suitable. Okay, if you have the idea about the G value, okay, at a particular temperature, okay, then we can predict that if you have a choice that this is your reducing agent which is going to convert metal oxide into metal. Okay, is the process is feasible under suitable condition, under particular temperature condition when you have two reducing agents. So this diagram tell us which reducing agent at particular temperature is suitable for the reduction of any metal oxide. Okay, so you will have a curve. Metal have a curve at the bottom of the diagram, this elegum diagram, which reduces the metal found more towards the top. Okay, so we will explain this one. That is, any metal which is lying at the bottom in the diagram is a better reducing agent than the metal lying in the top of the diagram. Means you have the diagram where there is a diagram which is drawn between the change in gives free energy with respect to the change in temperature. So if metal or the reducing agent position is here and another reducing agent the position is higher in the diagram, then the species or the element or the reducing agent which is lying at the bottom will have higher affinity to convert metal oxide into metal. Okay, so this will be a better reducing agent and this will be not a better reducing agent at that particular temperature. Okay, so as you increase the temperature there may be variation in this behavior. Means this behavior can move down and this behavior can move up. Okay, means at this particular temperature A species is better reducing agent, whereas the B species is not a better reducing agent. But as you increase the temperature, there may be the variation in the behavior. Okay, it may fluctuate. Okay, it may vary. So this diagram try to explain the aspect that at particular temperature, as you increase the temperature of the system, the reducing capacity or reducing agent capacity may vary. Okay, so this diagram is based that if you have the process to convert metal oxide into metal as a spontaneous one, and whatever the reducing agent you have. Okay, so after having the information regarding the change in Gibbs free energy, you can predict which of the given reducing agent is preferred for the uh, metallurgical aspect for the reduction process. Okay, so this can be easily understand. Okay, so what this slides used to reflect the metal which is lying. Metal, I'm just talking about metal, not the metal which is converted. I'm talking about the reducing agent. Okay, as the metal or M species lying at the bottom will have more negative delta G. Okay, for its oxide formation, then the metal lying at the top. Okay, suppose this is your metal oxide and this is the metal form after the reducing agent act on this species. Okay, so if reducing agent has a higher capability to form the oxide, so naturally this oxide will move to the reducing agent, and only then you can have this one. So it indicates that if the reducing agent lie low in the Elegum diagram, so it will have high tendency to form the oxides. Okay, and so as to liberate the metal oxide into metal form. Okay, so the bottom M will form oxide easily by reducing the top M. Okay, as its oxide formation has less negative G value, or you can say the process will be less spontaneous. So in the bottom case, the process is more spontaneous, whereas the positioning of the metal in the higher position of the Elegum diagram will indicate that the process is not that much spontaneous. So naturally, we will have to move for the metallurgical aspect by spontaneous process. So that will leads to give a stable product. So you can understand this by application aspect. You will have the diagram where these lines will indicate that there is a formation of or conversion of metal oxide into oxides, and their positioning will define whether the reducing agent will be having a capability to convert metal oxide into metal at certain temperature. Okay, so just considering the example of aluminum, on the graph actually lie much below than most of the elements such as iron. I will show you the graph. This essentially means that aluminum can be used as a reducing agent for oxides of all metals that lie below in the graph. So here you have the graph. So this is the line of the graph. This is your temperature. This is for aluminum. All other metals, just like iron, lie above in the Elegum diagram. So this indicates that at this temperature, this aluminum can can reduce this metal ion. So your metal ion is lying above this aluminum. So this oxygen will come here. Okay, so it will form the aluminum oxide, whereas this metal is going to be free after reduction. Okay, so this diagram gives that this is a suitable reducing agent. Okay, so aluminum oxide is more stable. Why it is going to form this one? Because this is the most stable oxides. Okay, so this can be explained because the formation of this oxide produce a more negative value. That is, the free energy change is negative. The process is spontaneous. So you have already studied in your thermodynamics what is the significance of plus value, delta G negative, delta G zero. Okay, so in that context you have to look into the issue that change in free energy is negative, the process is spontaneous. Okay, when you have the metal which has higher negative value, okay, lying lower in the um, diagram, then that species is a better reducing agent. Okay, you can see from here. Okay, I'm just talking about the example role of reducing agent to make the delta G negative. So you have the diagram. So this is the carbon and these are the other element just like your iron. So carbon is lying much below as compared to the iron. So if you have a metal oxide just like iron oxide, okay, and its formation into this means metal iron oxide cannot form metal and its liberation of oxygen because under the suitable condition under the present condition because the value of delta G is positive, so this reaction is not feasible. So this become feasible when you have a suitable reducing agent just like carbon, coke, okay, coal you have, so you can use this one. So in the presence of the carbon content there is a formation of carbon monoxide. So you can see when you have the overall reaction that iron oxide is reduced by this carbon content, then there is a formation of free iron and carbon monoxide, and the total change in energy for the given reaction is negative, okay, it is much negative, so the reaction become feasible means under suitable condition of the temperature you can have idea that which of the given reducing agent will be applicable. So this is only possible when you have the idea about the delta G, okay, it should be always negative and it will give you idea whether the given reaction is possible or feasible or not, okay. So this elegant diagram try to put those things in terms of its positioning, okay. So you have negative value here, this is zero value, and above this you have the positive delta G value. So whatever is lying at the bottom of the Elegum diagram, it will give you idea that those species will have better chance to act as a reducing agent in the metallurgical process. Okay, means the process will be spontaneous and feasible. Okay, it can reduce all the upper species, just like your iron. It's supposed to be acting on these things. So silent features, you can see what I have discussed here. This diagram shows the relation between the temperature and the stability of the complex. Okay, whatever is formed, that is a stable one. It is basically a graphical representation of Gibbs free energy flow. In the metallurgy, we can use the Elegum diagram to plot the reduction process equation. Okay, so this help us to find out the most suitable reducing agent when we reduce metal oxide to give a pure metal. Okay, so basic idea of this one you can have the situation here what we have discussed so far. This is example how the aluminum is acting as a reducing agent. Okay, so you can see that formation of this, if you have the aluminum, it react with the oxygen, it used to form the aluminum oxide, and the change in energy, that is delta G, is negative, it is 9 minus 900 kilojoule per mole. Okay, if you want to convert the chromium oxide into chromium, so you can have this similar reaction here, that how the chromium form the chromium oxide, and its delta G is minus 500 kilojoule per mole. Okay, so from these value the formation of the upper reaction is much better. Okay, this is more feasible reaction because it has higher delta G, it has lesser delta G. So when you have the metal oxide as a chromium oxide, so this chromium oxide can be reduced by exploring the aluminum. Okay, because in the Elegum diagram the chromium lie upper and aluminum lie below. Okay, suppose this is the particular temperature. Okay, so this is the positioning, this lie below in the diagram. Okay, so that is why this can reduce, means it can reduce the given chromium. Okay, this one will be reduced and it will itself form the oxide. and there will be free chromium ion. And you can see for this reaction, the value of delta G is negative. It is minus 400 kilojoule per mole. Okay. So this is why, while knowing the values of the delta G, we can predict that which of the given reducing agent can work in an efficient way at a particular temperature. So this is reaction which is proceeding at 1773 Kelvin. If you vary the temperature, these values will also vary, because delta G we are drawing against the plotting against the temperature, and these lines are varying in its direction with the passage of the increase in the value of the temperature. So it is not fixed that whatever temperature you have, you will have the same delta G values. It will vary. So you can see that similarly for the carbon reduction process, okay, carbon is better reducing the agent for zinc oxide as compared to carbon monoxide. The reduction of zinc oxide to zinc is carried out at 1600 Kelvin. However, it has been observed that when you reduce the temperature, the delta G of formation of zinc oxide is varied. Therefore, C, that is a carbon, can easily reduce zinc oxide to zinc under these conditions. Okay. Also, delta G of formation of carbon monoxide from carbon dioxide is always more than delta G of the formation of the zinc oxide. Therefore, the carbon monoxide cannot be used to reduce the, why? Because the delta G value is not conducive, whereas here this is much negative. Okay. So it has a much negative value as compared to this one. Okay. So the reaction of the carbon with zinc oxide is feasible. You can have formation of zinc. Okay. Whereas this is not going to be occur here, because you can see from here this diagram. This is the Alli-Gum diagram. So this is change in free energy, this is temperature. So you can see that we have wide range of species listed here. So there is a carbon monoxide, there is a iron oxide formation. Okay. So there are carbon dioxide and some other species. But in this range you can see that when you increase the temperature, this curve decreases here, some curve increases here. So at 1600 Kelvin, this carbon become more active to reduce the given sample of zinc oxide. Okay, you can see from here that initially its value is here, or positioning of carbon is much higher at this temperature. As the temperature increases, its behavior changes, it become more, or you can say better reducing agent at the elevated temperature. So its positioning become lower below the zinc oxide. So that is why it can reduce this species. Whereas the carbon monoxide, it remain on the upper side. Carbon dioxide is also remain on the upper side even after increasing the temperature. So it cannot reduce the zinc oxide. Similarly, you can see that how the aluminum oxide graph is there, line is there, curve is there. So it is much below the iron. Okay, there is a iron. So it can reduce this one. So you can see from these diagrams, okay, predict the temperature above which we can say that carbon or carbon monoxide will reduce the iron oxide. Okay, so you have the temperature and delta G curve, that is a Elegum diagram is there. Okay, so you can see that we have different species. You have carbon monoxide, you have iron, you have carbon. So as you increase the temperature, the lines vary. Either it's going to be in a it is going to increase its delta G. Okay, means its free energy is going to become more positive, or it will remain same, just like in the case of carbon. And in case of iron, with the increase in temperature, the behavior changes like this. Okay, so if you have the consideration whether the carbon monoxide is better reducing agent or carbon content is better reducing agent at certain temperature, just like this one. Okay, so you can see that as you increase the temperature, this line increases, means its positioning become higher in the Elegum diagram, whereas the carbon content positioning is same. Okay, it is now just below the iron oxide. It means that it can reduce this iron. So that is why carbon is a better reducing agent at elevated temperature. If you have a temperature around 80 degrees Celsius. Okay, so this is how you can have the positioning which explain that what type of the species supposed to have impact on the reducing property. So this Elegum diagram used to explain the change in the free energy with respect to the temperature and how you can have the variation. Okay, so I'm just putting one question here. Just wait. This is a topic which relates that how you can have different types of the situation where you can explore the. So this is your pool question. The basic purpose of this diagram to explain that the positioning of the curve in the diagram can give you idea about the reducing property. If it lie below at the bottom of the graph, then those species has better tendency to act as a reducing agent. They can reduce the metal oxide into metal and itself get converted into the oxides. Okay, just like you have the aluminum which can convert chromium oxide into chromium, and itself it get oxidized to the aluminum oxide. So this is the way how you can have different types of the reducing agent, including carbon monoxide. So as you increase the temperature, there is a change in the behavior of the species to act as a reducing agent. Some of them will act in a better way, means they will have better tendency to reduce something means the metal oxide, and some may have different behavior. Their capability may reduces with increase in temperature. Okay, so that is why this diagram becomes important to explain the aspect of the reducing capability of the species, because we require certain species that should act as a reducing agent so as to convert the metal oxide which we are obtaining after the uh, roasting process or calcination process, so that we can get the crude metal. Okay, so this is the topic which includes these topics. Okay, so this is very important, you should look into it, and if you have any query you can just ask, or you can put the question in the chat box. Okay, so dear student, just if you have some attendance issue, so please kindly convey within the same day, okay, because after that the rectification is a big issue. So if you have some technical issue regarding the attendance, so try to convey on the same day of the class. Thank you to all of you.